You don't see anything gnarly in the background, do you? Like, I try to clean up, but sometimes you just miss stuff. No, I think it's fine.
It's all good.
I think it's all good here.
I also got the set dressing of the C50 in the background there too.
Oof. Wow. Did you see some discourse online about that?
About the C50?
Just open gate in general.
Well, I did find that there was one creator I watch who's talking about the C50. He regularly shoots the C70 like I used to, and then he's saying he didn't want to update to the C50 because, well, there's a couple of reasons, but one of the main ones was that the open gate, it caps at 30p or 30 FPS, and I don't know, that doesn't really kill me too much because I think most of the time I would be using open gate would be in like a 24 frames mode. Just kind of getting a walking and talking shot, or like, you know, and that would be like nice to have as a vertical video, but also in the 16:9 online video. He was saying more like if you just having a 60 FPS version would be great, so you could slow stuff down and do slow motion stuff. And I don't know.
I feel like we're always after that little bit that we didn't get.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it is a little bit of a, you know, I wish they did do it. You know, but it's not killing me. And honestly, you know, Canon's been great with firmware updates. Not that it'd be, you know, banking on it happening, but if, you know, maybe that's a nice little firmware update we get in a year or whatever, enough people clamor for it, maybe Canon will do it, you know.
I saw Justin Porter talking about it, and I was this close to commenting, but I was like, no, I don't want to get into this. But he was saying, like, he's like, hands down, Canon C50 is the best open gate in the market, and I was like, well, actually, Lumix was, no, but I was just like, no, I'm not doing it. But
I'm not a Canon fanboy delusional person. I do understand that. Lumix has kind of a, you know, they were doing it since, you know, like for the last 3-4 years, right? Something like that.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I was remember when I was saying something about possibly looking at the S1H and just going backwards. I was looking at, they have it, and I was like, oh, wow, I didn't realize we had it this long ago. That was 2019.
Oh, wow. So even longer than that. Wow. That's
Isn't that
pretty
crazy?
Impressive. Oh, yeah.
That S1H was one impressive beast.
Oh, yeah. And it's open gate at 60 FPS. Is that true? Because I know Lumix does. They do it like the open gate.
I'm not sure about the S1H. I do think there's a 60. There's definitely a 5 point something 60. I'm not sure if there's a full like 6K one. It might be like a little lower. But there's definitely something with it. But yeah, I mean, it's nice. And I also have to think about the crop that comes with 60 on most of the cameras. I think the S1R2 is and that whole lineup that just came out is the first setup of them that has come out without a crop, which that was like the biggest allure for me, because every time I want to go to slow motion of any kind, which is really just 60, I'm not going to go crazy. Right. But it's just like that extra punch in, and it makes me not want to do it. I'm like, oh, I forgot. I have to readjust the whole setup.
So is that crop on just open gate, or is that also in 16:9 shooting modes that you get a crop with 60? Or
no, that's in 16:9. So if you cut into 60 frames a second, there's an APS-C crop.
Wow, that sucks.
Yeah, and yeah, it does, and it does suck.
Because that's one of the things with the R5C. I was shooting those weddings, and I didn't get any cropping when I was in 60 FPS. But I mean, wait, no, but I was shooting in 1080, so that maybe that was the reason why I didn't have a crop. I don't know. I actually should look into that. I don't think. Yeah. And I mean, honestly,
I'm pretty sure it's any 4K 60 on them have like a crop of some sort, but it's not so bad. I mean, it's still great. I'm not sure if it's quite APS-C. I think it is. Because when I shoot in 24, I have a button that I have functioned for going to an APS-C crop if I want to zoom in just an extra punch, and I just don't have it on me, or if I can't get there. But yeah, it's a little sticking point for Lumix, I'd say.
Yeah, and like that's the thing with every camera brand, you're gonna have trade-offs and all that stuff. But with and I think the thing is, like, at least you're trying new ideas and you're innovating. So like I think I told you about that thing with the R5, not the C50, and being able to do you're capturing 17:9 to the CF Express card, and then the SD card gets the choosable portrait crop. At first I was like, oh, that's amazing if you can do that in open gate, because then again you get your vertical video right out of the gate. But actually, that's in a 17:9 mode. That's not in the that's not available in that open gate mode, which is a little unfortunate. But at the same time, if you are doing a fast deliverable and you're like, I'm going to be shooting this for landscape and portrait, and I know that I'm going to be doing that, and I know the subject I want to have is going to be here and that kind of thing. I think it'll optimize a workflow. Just that, just having that availability there, and it's a 7K sensor too. So, even if you are recording in 7K in a 17:9 frame, it's still going to be high resolution, and it'll still look really good. So,
how's the body on that one? How's it feel?
Oh, dude,
it looks better than the FX3.
It is, dude. It is awesome. I have it rigged out on the Omnia, and I have my battery and everything on it, but the body having just having the top handle, dude, included with it, it's so good. You just take it off.
That's
the Omnia.
so cool.
And
its own top hand, and there's audio capabilities with it too. Okay,
yeah,
cool.
I got my my Sennheiser MKE 600 on there, and it's.
What are your thoughts on? Oh, is that a US? What am I thinking? XLR cable.
Yeah, full size XLRs, and
that's so cool.
Yeah, it's the top handle, and then I have the great TTR Cinlems we talked about and Cooking with Glass on there. So,
wow,
it's a nice little package. It feels good, and it's definitely small and light. So that's why I want the Omnia on there to give it a little bit of extra, a little bit of extra weight. But dude, this is it, man. I'm so happy with this like little form factor and package.
I feel like that's what Lumix should arguably do. They should release an S1H2 with a different body type, and if they really want to get ahead of the curve, which I don't know how they would do it, I think they need an electronic one, but they should figure out an internal ND, and I think that would change everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would actually put Lumix ahead for sure, because I think Canon's kind of coming back away from. I mean, Canon has their flagship stuff with the internal NDs, of course, but like those are at like the $9,000 and the $5,500 price points, but then coming in with the C50 at the $3,800 price point is great. But again, you're stripped of the NDs, and then so I think if Lumix was able to add NDs, because their price point's really great. It's like around $2,000 or $2,500, right? Usually for their bodies, their flagship being a little more
something
maybe
around there.
So if they were to add NDs and maybe get it to like $3,200, that would be a great way to undercut a little bit, but still be able to deliver on the great.
I think the S1H was probably like around like probably closer to like 35.
Oh, okay.
But some of the higher end ones can get a little bit up there, but for the body alone, but it's kind of worth it. I mean, that thing, like I said, it's still, people are still like referring to it and saying like, I would recommend it today in 2025. It's a 6-year-old camera. So, and
that's such a testament. So similar things with the R5C, people, because of all the firmware updates, people are still recommending, one guy I watch, he's literally like, I didn't even get a C50. I'm just getting a second R5C, and that's going to be my 2-camera kit. And I'm not getting rid of mine. I love my R5C. It's a great camera, and especially because I have the Cine back, I have the way to make it fully cinema rigged out. I have the micro HDMI to HDMI cable so that I could use my monitors and stuff. So I've rigged it out well enough where I'm like, it's a great, it could be just a standalone A cam, but also it's now a B cam to the C50. Even though again, it doesn't shoot C-Log 2, which is unfortunate. The C50 does, which is the better log curve for Canon, but.
Maybe there will be a firmware update that'll have it.
I mean, we've been hoping, but I think it's that they lock with the way that they design the sensor. It's optimized for C-Log 3. So if you were to put C-Log 2 in it, you wouldn't get the benefits of the dynamic range. It would just be shooting that profile, but it would just not give you the benefits. So Canon's kind of said we're not going to add that. But what I've heard is that you can shoot the 8K RAW that's on R5C, and then in DaVinci you can decode it using C-Log 2, and it'll actually give you real. Because it's just the raw sensor data when you're shooting raw. So I've heard that, so you can get C-Log 2 that way, but then that involves me shooting 8K raw, which is going to chew up my cards. But I think if I was like, I need to match these two shots and I need them to both be C-Log 2, sure, I would shoot the R5C, especially if it's like a 30-second shot or a minute-long shot. I'll burn the card space for that, for them to match color profile if it was that important. Yeah,
I've definitely been, I feel like this past year with the podcast and with She Cries Murder, because I was like, dude, we're getting ready for our social edit on one of our pods. a couple weeks ago, and then my external hard drive said it was like nearly full, and I was like, what do you mean? I got this like a year ago. This can't be nearly full. And I was like thinking like, well, I have been shooting a lot of 10-bit footage out there. And then I was thinking about like, oh, and the pods we've definitely gotten hours of footage from that. So it was because I was erasing like projected or like generated media files from Final Cut Pro to try to like erase a bunch of footage and stuff to like free up some space. And it just wasn't that much. And I was like, oh my God, this is all just raw footage. This is insane.
Oh, dude, I know.
So I'm decided like I'm gonna return my Atom X. I'm just gonna go forego raw video for now because the file size is just too enormous. I can't do it.
Dude, it's crazy, man. I have one of those G RAIDs that it's RAID 1, so it's backed up with single drive redundancy, and it's got 36 terabytes, so it's basically 18 usable because of the redundancy. I only have 4 terabytes left. And
I burn through terabytes now, man.
Dude, it's insane.
At Choate too. I go through so many. We have like I think right now we have like an 18 terabyte thing, and I think we have like 6 left. But I mean, it's over a year old, and the amount of media we're pushing onto all types is insane.
Yeah,
it's a lot of stuff.
And it's like also working in like the data storage thing itself it could be a whole podcast episode, because it's just like, do you have when you have certain clients and stuff, do you have like a certain time limit that you'll keep their footage in a project state, and then also just like, I mean, I always just keep a master of everything I create, because it's, again, the files are usually a couple gigs here and there, maybe. If you have like if you did like a big project with like 4 or 5 deliverables, it's like there's like a gig or so of data there. Technically,
I'll keep them pretty much forever, just because I always update and get new external hard drives. I don't like go back and erase stuff. So technically, as long as the thing doesn't get corrupted, I'll usually give them a timeline of like a year or two, so that way I kind of get myself off the hook of it.
I would say, yeah,
it's always good depending on who the client is. But for the most part, I just try to get myself off the hook of it. But yeah, I mean, they could come back and potentially ask for me something from like 10 years ago, and I could because Final Cut, it's easy to update projects and just kind of re-pull them up, and maybe you have to update a couple of things if you use certain plugins. But for the most part, it's a pretty simple procedure. So if it was someone I liked, I'd give them a shot. Why not? Like I'd try to see. If I usually
make that distinction. I'll be like, is it a one-off? Like, did I kind of just do this project? It's been like a year or two, and I haven't heard from them, and all that. And then I'll decide, and especially like knowing the relationship, like how do we end things, that kind of, you don't want to be, obviously I'm not like being like, I'm out to get this person, or I'm going to delete all their footage. It's like, and I do want to keep that as much of the file, the project file intact as I can. But if it is really like, even when I'm working with a business and it's like a lot of their principals have left, or a lot of changeover, and it's like, we're really not going to use that video, it would more just be for archive purposes, then yeah, sure, I'll get rid of the projects probably. Unless it's like they're going to want to redo that project, just like swap out the people, then it's like, okay, well, usually you have those conversations up front. And also, again, it depends on your relationship. So if it's like I'm still working with a certain company and it's been 2 or 3 years, I'll still have my backlog of projects with them, because I'll know that they'll probably want to update this project. Or I have a client that I was like that with the pandemic. I did a lot of editing for them, and there's a lot of these like, project formats that I'm just kind of like, they're like, oh, Mike, we're gonna do another version of this video just with a new person, a new interview, that kind of thing. So I'm just like, yep, okay, swap out, and kind of style it the same way and that kind of thing. So having that baseline helps versus having to rebuild the project from scratch. I'm actually you got me thinking about that, because I gotta reshoot something for the school I work for, and just kind of like a program update. We have a new director who is essentially just gonna go in and say lines of what the previous director had said, so that way they get the face with the program. But it's funny because it's like, oh god, I gotta go find that project file, and I hope it's still working perfectly fine, so I could just plug in his stuff and not have to totally rebuild it from scratch. But we will see.